कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणाय समर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायणाय समर्पयामि नाहं कर्ता हरिकर्ता त्वत्पूजा कर्म चाखिलं यद्यत् कर्म करोमि तत्तदखिलं शम्भो तवाराधनं हरि ओम तत्सत् ब्रह्मार्पणमस्तु. Radiant immortal Atman, beloved and blessed children of the Divine, may the divine grace of the Lord shower upon you. May God grant you long life and good health, success and prosperity, peace and joy, and make your life rich with the inner spiritual treasures of faith, devotion, love for the Lord, meditation and sadhana shakti. May God crown your life with the supreme attainment of bliss, peace and illumination and liberation. May the grace of beloved and worshipful Holy Master Swami Shivananda be upon you all the days of your life and enable you to achieve success in your inner spiritual journey to divine perfection. It is this divine journey that is the real life of the individual upon earth. Gurudev Swami Chidanandaji Maharaj appeared in this 20th century to proclaim to mankind his sublime message of divine life, meaning thereby a life lived in the awareness that you are essentially an eternal and imperishable divine spirit. You are immortal Atman. You are not this perishable cage of flesh and bones. You are not merely this restless and impure mind filled with selfishness, anger, hatred, passion, greed, cravings, etc. Neither are you this limited and finite intellect which is many a time prone to error and fails you at the time of need in solving your problems. But beyond body, senses, mind and intellect, you shine resplendent as an eternal and immortal spirit. Satchitananda is your real nature, existence absolute, consciousness absolute and bliss absolute. Because you are an eternal part of that supreme universal spirit whom we refer to as God. He is a cosmic being, the eternal source and origin of your very existence, and you are inseparably connected with Him in the inner dimension of your real nature, your spiritual nature, which is in fact your true identity. Gurudev Swami Shivanandaji beheld the state of restlessness in which mankind dwelt in this modern world, with its insecurity, with its clash and conflict, discord and disharmony. Man was everywhere restless, and in spite of having material wealth and opulence, he was not happy. He had no peace. He was ever restless and he was ever unhappy and unsatisfied. Therefore, out of a heart filled with love and compassion for all beings, Master Swami Shivanandaji was a cosmic friend and benefactor, and out of his overwhelming love and compassion for all beings, he decided to show them the path to blessedness in and through the normal life in this world. And this path is the path of divine life. The message of divine life calls upon mankind to realize that You are only a passing pilgrim here upon this planet Earth. This is not your eternal dwelling place. You come from an abode of eternal peace, joy and sunshine. An abode, divine abode beyond all sorrow, pain and suffering, where there is eternal peace and supreme bliss. Due to karma, the force of the great law of karma, temporarily you have come into this state of physical embodiment, and the meaning and purpose of this earth life is that it is a golden opportunity, a rare chance given to you to be utilized in order to once again regain your temporarily lost connection with the Supreme Universal Being, who is of the very nature of bliss and peace. And it is to make use of this life for this process of regaining your lost contact with the Divine that all the saints and sages have come and taught us the way to attain God consciousness and God experience, by which one passes beyond all sorrow and become established in a state of absolute divine bliss and is forever liberated from all pain, suffering, fear and bondage. That state of liberation is called moksha. This is the supreme goal of life. Moksha means sarva dukkha nivritti, paramananda prapti and nitya tripti. Liberation from all pain, sorrow and suffering, the attainment of absolute supreme divine bliss and eternal satisfaction in that state of liberated consciousness. To attain this, Gurudev showed to mankind an easy path which he can practice even while living in this world, fulfilling all one's obligations to one's dependents and doing one's duties which confront you and engaging in activity which is inevitable to this secular life in this materialistic world. In and through this world and in and through this secular life, to attain to that supreme divine experience which is the summum bonum of life or the supreme goal of human existence, that is the purpose of divine life. Divine life is a life lived in the awareness that you are essentially divine, that you are not this perishable cage of flesh and bones, but your real identity is something supramundane, which is without beginning, without end, which is timeless and eternal, which is without birth and death, which is imperishable, indestructible and immortal. Thou art immortal soul, thou art the eternal, imperishable Atman, declared in these stirring words by Lord Krishna. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Unborn, eternal, permanent and timeless is this dweller within the body, and he is not affected by the birth or death of the body. Weapons cannot injure you, fire cannot burn you, water cannot wet you, wind cannot dry you. You are therefore the eternal, immortal Atman. To live in this awareness is the basis of divine life. Divine life is lived also in the awareness that your source and origin is that eternal cosmic being, infinite existence, eternal bliss and peace, whom we call God. He is the basis of all religions. He is the source and origin of all religions. He is the goal of all religions. Even though called by different names as Brahman or Atman or Jehovah or Aura Mazda or Father in heaven or Allah or Eko Onkar Satanam, yet that supreme cosmic reality is one and non-dual. It is that reality which is worshipped in all places of worship, Hindu temple, Jewish synagogue, Christian church, Islamic mosque and gurudwaras. It is the one being glorified in all the scriptures of the world. To attain that being is the supreme goal and purpose of life. Divine life proclaims that the goal of life is God realization, attaining which one becomes liberated from rebirth and all sorrow, pain and suffering. To lead this divine life, you need not renounce your house and family and property and your profession, and you need not run away into some forest or mountain top and live in a cave. Even living as you are, leading your normal life of domestic setup and your professional life and activities and your social life, yet you can attain this supreme goal and become forever blessedness, forever blessed. To attain this, the way of divine life shown by Gurudev is, first and foremost, purify your heart and rid it of the dross and blemish and impurity of selfishness by plunging into absolute dedicated selfless service. Be a Mahaparopakari, ever be intent, ever be eager in order to serve all, to serve the sick, serve the poor, serve the suffering and the sorrowful, to encourage those who are in despair, and feel yourself to be blessed if you get an opportunity of serving, helping and benefiting not only your fellow beings but all creatures of God upon this earth. By thus renouncing selfishness and engaging in motiveless, desireless, selfless service, one's heart becomes purified, and in such a pure heart there arises devotion for God. And with devotion, engage yourself in daily worshipping the Supreme, who is the very basis of your being, who is the very innermost core of your consciousness, who is the very center of your existence. God is not some supramundane, remote reality far away from you, but God is here and now. He is the all-pervading reality, the ever-present divine spirit pervading this entire universe, and also He is your innermost indweller. He is Antaryami. He is closer to you than your very breath. Never forget this, and therefore, out of a heart filled with love for Him, engage in prayer and worship every day. Thus, try to re-establish a living connection, a living link and relationship of spiritual love with the supreme source of your being, God. And this process of daily worshipping and praying to the Lord has the power to gradually steady this restless mind and overcome its fickle nature. It removes the vikshepa shakti of the mind and steadies the mind and gradually brings about a state of restfulness and concentration in the mind. At this stage, you enter into the third practice of divine life, namely withdrawing the mind and controlling the senses and controlling the thoughts. and attaining to a state of concentration, and with a concentrated mind meditating upon the supreme divine reality or God. Daily practice meditation. Selfless service is the foundation of divine life. Devotion and worship brings about a progress and an upward ascent in your life, Godward ascent in your life. And as devotion and prayerfulness intensifies itself, then mind attains a state of concentration and you enter into a state of regular daily meditation upon the divine object of your quest. Regular daily meditation brings about steadiness and brings about a feeling of abidance in God. You begin to feel the presence of God in your heart. And the power of meditation is such that even when you are engaged in your daily activity, either at home or in your professional field or in society, meditation creates a steady, unbroken undercurrent of God thought or God awareness. This is the effect of regularly practiced meditation. When you begin to feel the presence of God, you become aware of the presence of God at all times, everywhere, even in the midst of your activities. You begin to feel that you live, move, and have your being in God. This is the power of meditation. It brings about in your life God awareness, and also it brings about in your thoughts, words, and activities a new spiritual quality which uplifts and elevates your life to a new standard of purity, of spirituality, compassion, kindness, and holiness. Thus, you become a transformed being, a spiritual being with purity of character, with sublime sentiments, with spiritual emotions and lofty thoughts of the divine. And in having entered into this state of God awareness, your intellect becomes purified and within it dawns the power of spiritual inquiry, philosophical inquiry and discrimination. Discrimination between the non-eternal and the eternal, the merely passing appearance and the changeless eternal reality. Atman and Anatman, the permanent and the passing, the appearance and the reality, the non-eternal and the eternal. This process of discrimination or viveka should be carried on all the waking hours of your everyday life. Thus, through constant discrimination, you begin to reject that which is unspiritual and undivine. You begin to reject the passing changeful appearances of this phenomenal world, and you begin to direct your mind towards the reality which is behind and beyond all this world play, this show of vanishing names and forms. Your mind begins to move towards the eternal reality, even though physically and mentally you continue to live in this material world, you continue to function in this phenomenal process, yet deep within you, in your spirit, you become established in God. You become established in the supreme divine reality. And thus, the four great practices which beloved and holy master Gurudev Swami Chidanandaji proclaimed as the pillars of divine life was selfless service, devotion and worship, daily unfailing regular meditation, and constant spiritual inquiry, discrimination, and investigation into the nature of the reality which is behind and beyond this world of vanishing names and forms. The way of divine life, which leads to inner spiritual unfoldment and God experience and grants you supreme bliss, peace and illumination, is the way of selflessness and selfless service. It is the way of devotion and daily worship. It is the way of disciplining the mind, controlling the senses, withdrawing the mind from being scattered amongst the external objects of this world, concentrating the mind and meditation. It is the way of ceaseless inquiry. Who am I? What am I? Whence am I in this universe? What is my destination and goal in life? And what is the nature of this real universe of these perishable objects? It is a way of ceaseless spiritual inquiry into the real nature of your own inner being as well as the real nature of this world appearance and your ultimate goal. It is the way of affirming, I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this limited finite intellect. I am that innermost being, supreme Atman, nameless and formless, unborn, undecaying, deathless and imperishable, eternal, one and non-dual. I am Satchitananda. This is the way of divine life. But if you wish to enter into this way, spiritual way of divine life, of selfless service, daily worship, regular meditation and ceaseless inquiry, discrimination and self-realization, you have to observe three principles in your conduct and character and your day-to-day vyavahara or day-to-day life in the secular world. These three principles form the very foundation and basis of this divine life of service, worship, meditation and God realization. These principles therefore are indispensable prerequisites for the practice of the sadhana of divine life. The first principle is kindness and compassion towards all creatures. You must be a cosmic benefactor. Out of your life there must flow out ceaseless love, kindness and compassion. Never hurt anyone, never hurt even the least one of God's creature, either by thought, word or action. Even in dream, you should never think of harming or hurting any creature. This sublime principle of non-injury or harmlessness has been given a very great place in the eternal Vedic way of life that proclaims ahimsa paramo dharmaha. Be a center of help, be a center of benefit, be a center of happiness and peace to all. Never injure, never hurt, never harm any living creature, even in the least manner. The second principle is be rooted in absolute truthfulness. Even at the cost of your life, never utter falsehood, never practice deceit, never be dishonest in any of your dealings with anyone in this world. Be a man of integrity, of verity. Become a man established in truthfulness in thought, word and deed. Truth is God. One who practices truthfulness rigidly will attain God and become established in God even without much rigorous yogic sadhana and techniques. For God is present in this human world as sublime principle of truthfulness. Thirdly, lastly but not leastly, purity of conduct and character, self-control, chastity, a chaste look, purity of vision, purity of feeling towards all beings, brahmacharya, an overall control over the base carnal passions that exist in the lower physical aspect of your being. Thus, self-control and purity of thought, word and deed, a sublime purity of character and conduct and ethical living. Secondly, absolute truthfulness in all dealings, and above all, kindness and compassion towards all creatures. These three form the basis and foundation of such divine life. So, based upon a life of truth, purity and goodness, simplicity and humility, good conduct and character, self-restraint and freedom from carnal passion and desires, the life spiritual is having God as the supreme goal, even in the midst of all your activities and duties dutifully done. Ever keep in mind the great goal. Remember God constantly with love in your heart, and have absolute faith in your inseparable relationship with the Supreme Divine Being. Cultivate constant remembrance of God by seeing His invisible presence in and through all things in this universe around you. The Lord is present as an immanent principle in all creation. In the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in a wondrous and a marvelous manner, God gives the supreme experience to Arjuna through his Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. And through that supreme vision, He has granted to us a rare and priceless treasure of this truth that God is present, immanent in this universe, and fills every speck of space and every atom of matter in this world. Thus, being constantly in a state of awareness, do all your activities as a worship offered to this ever-present divine presence, and dedicate all your activities to God, saying Brahmarpanam, Krishnarpanam. O Lord, all the activities of my entire life I offer up unto your feet as my perennial prayer or ceaseless worship. Thus, living your divine life, work becomes worship. To act becomes to adore. The very living of your life becomes a prayer. Come, arise, move towards this great experience. Lead divine life in daily life and attain supreme blessedness. Even as I talk to you and you listen, you are existence, consciousness, bliss absolute. You are the ever-perfect Atman. You are Satchitananda. You are part of God. That is your true consciousness. Living in this awareness is divine life. Hari Om. करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणाय समर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायणाय समर्पयामि हरिः ओम तत्सत् ब्रह्मार्पणमस्तु. Radiant immortal Atman, beloved and blessed children of the Divine, may the divine grace of the Lord shower upon you all at this moment, and may the Lord grant you good health, long life, prosperity, success in your undertakings, and inner peace of mind and happiness. May He enrich you with the inner spiritual wealth of faith, devotion, meditation, and spiritual experience. I am immensely happy to speak to you about the subject of yoga, which is a household word at the present times. All over the world, in all countries, yoga has become a very familiar term, and there are hundreds and thousands of people in both the hemispheres, in the Orient as well as and in the Occident, who are practicing Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, the yoga of meditation, etc. There have been any number of books in different languages of the world: English, French, German, Belgian, Italian, Dutch, books on this subject of yoga. Therefore, it is important to know what exactly yoga is and what yoga is not. To have a clear understanding of this all-important subject is of vital importance if you have derived the highest and the maximum benefit out of this ancient science of our inner spiritual unfoldment. Yoga is the attainment of spiritual union with the divine source of your being, with the supreme universal spirit, who is your eternal origin, from whom you have your existence, and supported by whom you exist here at this moment, and by attaining whom your life becomes truly fulfilled and complete. Yoga is God experience. It is union with the divine which brings about a severance or a disassociation of man's union with pain, sorrow, suffering and miseries of mundane life. This is a world of pain and death. This is a world of fleeting, temporary names and forms. This is a world of finite and imperfect gross material objects which are ever changing and therefore are not reliable, which are ever changing and subject to decay and destruction, and therefore quite incapable of giving you any lasting and permanent experience of either pleasure or happiness. Being imperfect and being a mixture of the pairs of opposites, the same object can give you pleasure for a moment, and the next moment that very same object can also be to you a source of pain and suffering, a source of sorrow. Therefore, if you want real happiness, if you want real peace, if you want real satisfaction, happiness that is permanent, that is everlasting, and that is absolute, meaning thereby unmixed with any other experience of the opposite kind, unmixed with pain or suffering, unalloyed happiness, in short. You have to seek for it, not in finite, imperfect, perishable and changeful, temporary objects of this universe, but you have to seek for it in an all-perfect, eternal, changeless and imperishable essence or principle. Is there such a source? Is there such a principle which is all perfect, which is eternal and unchanging, and which is of the very nature of bliss, of the very nature of supreme happiness? attaining which all your desire for happiness becomes at once totally fulfilled. This is an important question, and thanks to the supreme experience of our ancient illumined sages and seers of great Upanishadic or Vedic era in this sacred land of India, this Punya Bhumi, Bharatavarsha, the land of Ganga and Himalayas, the land of Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, thanks to the quest and the deep meditation and penance of these ancient seers and sages, who wanted to solve the riddle of life, who wanted to solve the mystery of this universe, and who wanted to find out if there is an experience which grants at once eternal satisfaction, absolute bliss, unalloyed bliss without a trace of sorrow and suffering. And to this quest they dedicated their entire life, and relentlessly they pursued this quest, and the determination ultimately was fruitful in illumination and God experience. They became self-realized, and that experience gave them an inexpressible joy which they could not describe. Brahmananda, Paramananda, supreme ecstatic bliss that filled their entire being and once for all took them forever beyond all sorrow, pain and suffering, liberated them from all the imperfect experiences of this earth life, and they became established in a state of absolute bliss and peace. These sages, being filled with universal love for all beings, being filled with compassion and kindness towards all creatures, they did not want to keep this experience to themselves. Therefore, they called upon mankind and declared to all, O ye children of immortality, we have come face to face with that resplendent being, attaining whom one becomes liberated from all sorrow, pain and suffering, and enters into a state of illimitable joy and indescribable divine bliss. What we have attained, you also can attain, for it is your birthright. Thus, they declared this great experience and gave a clarion call to mankind. Come, come, come unto this state of blissful Brahmic experience, Atmic experience. And these sages, even though they were people of great idealism, at the same time they were also pragmatic and practical in their approach to man's problems on earth. They were realists in this sense that they recognized the problems of the individual human being on earth, and therefore they gave also scientific methods and techniques, steps to attain this supreme experience. This is the greatest gift they bestowed upon posterity. And this art and science of living our life in such a way, this art and science of practicing certain techniques and certain methods of spiritual effort, which grants to us this supreme experience of bliss, peace and spiritual illumination, this science is called the science of yoga. As long as the human individual upon earth has this delusion that he can find happiness in the objects of this world outside, this material world, this phenomenal world around him, so far it is a wild goose chase, a futile quest after ever-changing sensual experiences which only give momentary sensation of pleasure but do not give real happiness. Therefore he is ever dissatisfied, discontented, is frustrated in his effort to attain true happiness, satisfaction and peace. He is disappointed, and ultimately a stage comes when he is absolutely disillusioned also. They wanted to save us, spare man from this futile quest, running after these shadows. And so they pointed out to him, "O man, if you really want happiness and peace, this is the way. You have to attain union with that supreme universal soul who is of the very nature of absolute bliss, peace and perfection. Anandam Brahmeti Vyajanat." They declare that the supreme universal reality is to be known to be of the nature of absolute bliss. You have all heard the inspiring Guru Stotra, Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasudrisham Tattvamasyajalaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Anandamanandakaram Prasannam Jnanaswarupam Nijabodhiyuktam Yogindradhyam Bhavaroga Vaidyam Srimadgurum Nityamaham Namami. Brahmanandam Paramasutaram. That supreme universal being is of the nature of illimitable absolute bliss. He is of the very nature of supreme happiness. Lord Krishna gives a hint of this great happiness in the 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, when he describes the yoga of meditation. Sukhamatyantikam yattat buddhigrahyam atindriyam. An absolute supreme state, a supreme experience of happiness and joy, the perfect joy, as Saint Francis of Assisi referred to it. A supreme experience of perfect joy and happiness which is beyond the senses. Senses cannot try to experience that happiness because it is supersensuous and even supramental. To attain this happiness is the ultimate objective of yoga. Man everywhere in this universe, no matter how vastly he may be different on the outward surface of his life, different countries and different nations, different races, different cultures, different languages, different ways of living, eating, dressing, etc. He may be completely different in all these respects. But there is one thing which is the same to all human individuals throughout this universe. And it is this factor that ultimately brings about an inner oneness as regards human life and the universal quest of human life on this planet Earth. And that common factor is that human individuals all over the world, they wish to avoid sorrow, pain and suffering, and they wish to attain joy, happiness and supreme bliss. In this, there is no argument, no discussion, there is no difference of opinion. No one wants sorrow, no one wants pain and suffering. Everyone wants to put an end, get rid, avoid pain, suffering and sorrow. And everyone wants also to have happiness. But let me ask you a question, beloved seeker. Since the dawn of creation, is there one single individual who has been born into this earth, who can stand up boldly and declare, in my life, I have never experienced any sorrow, pain and suffering whatsoever. My whole life has been a life full of joy, full of happiness, full of bliss alone. You will find that there is not even one single individual on earth who has not had at some time or other some type of pain or suffering or grief or sorrow. And therefore, this universal quest of mankind must have some fulfillment somewhere. Otherwise, the Creator would not have put this quest after happiness, put this inner urge for happiness within the human soul. The very fact that there is in each human individual being this innate urge for experiencing happiness, it shows that there is also provision made by the Creator for the satisfaction and fulfillment of this innate urge. You have not come here to weep and wail, to suffer sorrow, grief, pain, and then die. After going through a life of misery and grief, tapatraya, sorrow and suffering, die. You have not come here to weep and suffer and die, but on the contrary, your great ancestors, the Upanishadic sages and seers, declared boldly, O man, you have come here to attain supreme bliss, supreme blessedness. You have come here not to die, but to attain immortality. And the path to attain this supreme experience of absolute bliss and go beyond sorrow, go beyond death itself, and become immortal and eternal, that path is the path of yoga. Yoga is therefore the ultimate way to succeed in this universal quest of man on earth for liberating oneself from all sorrow, pain and suffering and entering into a state of absolute bliss and blessedness. And this can be brought about only by once again restoring our lost relationship, our lost link and connection with that supreme universal source of our being, Brahman or Paramatma, that supreme divine cosmic reality, whom we refer to as God. God experience alone can grant to you total liberation from all sorrow, pain and suffering and indescribable experience of bliss and peace. And yoga tells us in a scientific way how to attain that supreme state of joy and peace. And where does this supreme experience abide? All the great prophets and mystics have revealed a very, very subtle truth about this specific point regarding the attainment of the supreme experience. They have declared to us in their mystical wisdom teachings that this God experience, this supreme state of bliss and blessedness, is not some far off, remote experience which we have to attain through great difficulty or a long journey, but they have declared to us the same truth but in different languages. The kingdom of God is within. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Within you is hidden God. Within you is ocean of bliss. Within you is a fountain of joy. Right at the very innermost center of your being, the all blissful Brahman abides as the very innermost essence of your existence. Therefore, yoga is an inner spiritual journey, and therefore it requires that we try to put an end to the constant habitual activity of the mind which is outgoing. The mind of the normal human individual is scattered, it is outgoing. It always wants to move towards the outer names and forms of this external physical world under the deluded notion that if I get these, obtain these objects, if I possess them, if I experience them, I will get happiness. In spite of countless disappointments and disillusionment, man never learns. There is no iota of happiness in earthly objects. No object is perfect. They do not have in them the inherent power or ability to give you happiness or joy, because they are finite and they are imperfect. Otherwise, they must be able to give a homogeneous state of happiness and pleasure for all beings at all times under all conditions. But what do you actually see? If you like milk and you take a glass full of sweetened milk flavored with spices, the first glass may give you satisfaction. And if you are pressed upon to take another glass, the second glass may give satisfaction, but it is not the same degree of happiness or pleasure that you derive as the first glass. And if your stomach is already filled with 2 glasses of milk, if you try to take a third glass of milk, it becomes unpleasant, it becomes undesirable. And if it is forced upon you, a 4th glass of milk produces nausea, biliousness, and you will have to throw it up. Where then is real happiness? If milk had in it the power of giving happiness, it must be able to grant you this happiness at all times, under all conditions. It cannot change its nature. Such experience shows that all experiences derived from the contact of senses with their respective sense objects ultimately are experiences that end in pain. Therefore, it is not without reason that great world teacher Lord Krishna had this very important insight to impart to us when he said, Ye hi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkhayone evate adyantavantak kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. O Arjuna, all these experiences brought about by the contact of one or other of the 5 senses with their respective sense object, these experiences are the source of pain, are the source of sorrow. There is no real happiness in these sense contacts and sense experience. Mere momentary sensation afterwards giving you pain. And therefore a wise person, realizing the real nature of earthly objects, that they are empty of content, they cannot give you happiness, such a person never stoops to reveling in these petty objects of the materialistic world. He does not want alpa. The great experience of the sages declares to us in unmistakable and categorical terms, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham, the all-full, the all-perfect, therein alone lies true happiness, not in petty small objects. Therefore, you have to discipline the mind, you have to train the mind to give up this foolish tendency to always go outside. This extrovert nature is the bane of the human individual, and gradually you must discipline the mind by discrimination, by making the enlightened intellect to speak to the mind and admonish it and say, why do you search in vain for happiness outside? Come, come, happiness resides within. Stop your wanderings amidst this desert of empty earthly objects, amidst this jungle of sensuality, and turn your gaze within. Make the mind introspective, bring the mind within, direct it towards the inner Atma, and concentrate the mind and meditate upon the reality within. In the Kathopanishad, it is this important point that the great Yamadharmaraja tells the wonderful youthful aspirant Nachiketas, dive within. Happiness is within. God is within you. Therefore, yoga is a process of disciplining the senses, controlling them, and not allowing them to drag the mind outward towards this earthly phenomenal carnival, this circus show, world play, and gradually training the mind to go within and try to abide in the very center of your being. Human individual has got a threefold level of personality. The grossest outer personality is the physical, biological level. Here, there is not much difference between the human being and the other forms of beast and brute life. Hunger, thirst, carnal passion, sleep, fear, desire for survival, they are shared in common with all the rest of living creatures. But then, the uniqueness of man is you have the power to think, feel and reason. The psychological level of your personality is what distinguishes you from the animal level. And higher than both, there lies your real nature, the spiritual nature, which is a part of the universal spirit divine. And therefore, yoga is the process of controlling the animal nature and eliminating the negative traits in that animal nature and purifying and refining your psychological nature so that your mind, your thoughts and sentiments are now directed in the direction of the supreme divine reality and ultimately awakening the sleeping divinity within, unfolding it by proper means through japa, through kirtan, through prayer, through worship, through constant remembrance of God, through selfless service and discipline and self-control, through asana and pranayama, through daily practice of meditation, thus unfolding this awakened divinity and trying to enter into an experience of the radiant, unfolded and awakened consciousness and to become established in this consciousness of perennial bliss, peace and blessedness. This is yoga. The elimination of the negative traits of the animal nature, the purification and refinement and giving an upward trend to your psychological nature, to your emotions, sentiments, thoughts and reasoning processes, and thirdly, to awaken the sleeping divinity within, unfold it, make it radiantly manifest in your thought, word and deed, and enter into an experience of that all-perfect divine nature and abide in the bliss and peace which it is. Yoga gives you various practices, making use of all these four faculties, your physical faculty, your mental faculty, your intellectual faculty, as well as emotional faculty according to your temperament. Yoga is therefore attaining bliss and blessedness through union with the Supreme Universal Spirit and God experience. May God bless you with the supreme attainment and make your life fruitful. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramartastunmanti Divystavaihi Vedaisanga Padakramo Vinishadaihi Gayantyam Samagaha Dhyanamastita Tadgate Ramanasa Pashyantyam Yogino Yasyantam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsajanurmardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Mande Jagadgurum Shri Krishnam Mande Jagadgurum Harihi Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu Paramatmane Parabrahmane उज्ज्वल आत्मस्वरूप परम पिता परमात्मा के प्यारे अमर संतान, अत्यंत हर्ष के साथ आपके सेवा में सद्गुरुदेव श्री स्वामी शिवानंद महाराज के चरण के दास स्वामी चिदानंद आत्म विकास के विषय पर कुछ विचारों को समर्पण कर रहा है। और ये आपके समक्ष जो विचार रखे जाते हैं उसको आपके शरीर रूपी मंदिर में और हृदय रूपी आसन में जो उपस्थित विराजमान भगवान अंतर्यामी स्वरूप में जो भगवान हैं उनके चरणों में एक पुष्पांजलि के रूप में इन विचारों को मैं अत्यंत विनम्रतापूर्वक समर्पण करता हूँ और अपने आप को पुनीत और धन्य समझता हूँ। प्यारे साधक, तुम इस विश्व में कुछ खास एक उद्देश्य के प्राप्ति के लिए, एक लक्ष्य के, महान लक्ष्य के प्राप्ति के लिए आए हो। जीवन केवल मात्र खाना पीना सोना और एक दिन मर के मिट जाना, तो इसको जीवन नहीं कहा जाता है। इसके लिए तुम नहीं आए हो। मानव शरीर की प्राप्ति परमपिता परमात्मा की एक बहुत ऊंचा उत्कृष्ट एक देन है। यद्यपि इस शरीरबद्ध अवस्था में जीवात्मा इस संसार की यात्रा करते वक्त इस प्रपंच में, तो इस संसार के अनेक तापत्रयों से पीड़ित होता है, अनेक दुख शोक संकट के लिए शिकार बनता है। और इसलिए एक विवेक और वैराग्य के दृष्टि से इस शरीरबद्ध अवस्था की बहुत खंडन किया जाता है धर्म ग्रंथों में और वेदांत के सिद्धांत में। तथापि एक अन्य दृष्टि से जब हम देखते हैं ये मानवता अन्य जीव जंतुओं के भूमिका से बहुत उत्कृष्ट एक उन्नत भूमिका है, तो इस अध्यात्म दृष्टि से जब मानवता के और मानव शरीर के तरफ देखते हैं, हम उसकी बहुत प्रशंसा करते हैं। विवेक चूड़ामणि नामक ग्रंथ में भगवत पादाचार्य जगतगुरु आदि शंकराचार्य ये कहते हैं कि मानव शरीर की प्राप्ति अत्यंत दुर्लभ है। केवल मात्र देव अनुग्रह से, भगवान के अनुग्रह से ही प्राप्त हो सकता है। ऐसा बहुत उन्होंने प्रशंसा करके दुर्लभम त्रयमेव एतत् देवानुग्रह हेतुकम मनुष्यत्वम मुमुक्षुत्वम महापुरुष संश्रया करके मनुष्यत्व को इतना उन्होंने प्रशंसा किया है। कहा कि भगवान के अनुग्रह से जीवात्मा प्राप्त करता है। तो इसके कारण क्या है? यदि हम अपने शरीर को ठीक प्रकार से समझें, हमने भगवान ने इस शरीर को क्यों दिया है, हम पशु के योनि में क्यों नहीं, शूकर कुकर होकर के हमने क्यों जन्म नहीं लिया है, लेकिन विचार युक्त, बुद्धि से युक्त, विचार शक्ति से युक्त इस मानव शरीर को, मानव तनु को प्राप्त किया है। तो इस प्रकार से हम विचार करने में धर्म ग्रंथों ने, संतों ने, महापुरुषों ने ये कहते हैं, इसलिए ये मानव शरीर अमूल्य है, क्योंकि यदि इसके इंद्रियों की हम गुलाम नहीं बनते हुए इस देह रूपी शरीर में हम मालिक बन करके, इंद्रियों को अपना वश में रख करके, मन को नियंत्रित करके, मन के ऊपर नियंत्रण करके हम यदि इस शरीर के साथ एक सकारात्मक इस प्रकार के संबंध को रचा करके इस शरीर से हम काम लेते हैं, ये शरीर ये अगाध संसार सागर के पार करने के लिए एक नौका बन सकता है। ये शरीर हमारे लिए तो परमधाम पहुंचने की एक रथ बन सकता है, हमारे लिए एक साधना की यंत्र बन सकता है, योगाभ्यास की एक उत्तम। फंडामेंटली रॉन्ग मैन्स वे ऑफ थिंकिंग एंड फीलिंग एंड लिविंग ऑफ हिज लाइफ। God's peace is perennial and permanent, but Man has superimposed upon it hatred and violence, insecurity and restlessness, warfare and conflict. There is no harmony. Discord has become the order of the day. If we contemplate this truth about the present situation, we are confronted with a serious question. What is the cause for this losing of the way? Why is it that the human being, in spite of education, knowledge, refinement, so-called civilization and etiquette, yes, we have to admit that we have gone a long way from the Stone Age period of our historic ancestors, cave dwellers. But nevertheless, having come this far in refinement and civilization in a certain part of our life, we still seem to have been unable to eradicate from our inner nature the brutal and bestial tendencies of violent reaction to things, taking recourse to the argumentum baculum, taking recourse to the nailed fist instead of trying to decide issues through love and understanding, mutual give and take, harmony and peace in a friendly manner. If we have not been able to do this, and what is still more pitiable and deplorable is that mankind at this moment has failed to learn the lessons of these catastrophic conflicts, this calamitous warfare that he has engaged in over this past 25 to 30 years. He seems to be blind to the lessons and is ever preparing for fresher conflict. Manufacturing of armaments has become a very big industry in ever so many countries. And not only that, manufacture armament of defense for their own safety or protection, but manufacturing of armament of aggression and offense, which they are intent upon selling to other nations, thus inducing them also towards violence, conflict and warfare. It has become a big business, and yet these very nations seem to be constantly declaring that they have peaceful intentions, they desire peace. But their very conduct, the actions they engage in, belie this statement, and therefore mankind has become hypocritical. Who really wants peace? In truth, what man wants is comfortable living. Whatever the condition between nations, whatever the condition of the government, the ordinary citizen, he wants to have a good job, a steady income, and the fulfillment of his little desires and accumulation of things he is after, petty perishable material things of this. And whatever policy the government adopts, if it is able to provide for him these things, a comfortable living, a good job, steady income and a salary and the good things of life. He cares a pin whether the government is engaged in peace or engaged in warfare. And one of the arguments given by governments is that this colossal manufacture of destructive weaponry is an industrial enterprise which creates employment for thousands and thousands of people and brings about steady national income. And therefore, it brings about economic stability. And if there were to be peace, and if the manufacture of armament were to be stopped, then there will be widespread unemployment and the consequences resulting from it. And therefore, leaders at the top, they do not want this to happen. And people who are employed in these industries do not want these industries to close down, because it is the main source of their income and their material prosperity. Therefore, if you go deep into this question, no one really wants peace. Though they give a lip loyalty or lip support to peace, they are not interested. See, whether there is peace or not, provided they get what they want. Under these conditions, if we should still try to bring about a climate for peace, we have to re-educate the human individual into right thinking. People think in a haphazard way. There is no positive thought. There is no thought in the right direction. And all this has resulted due to two or three very important factors. First and foremost, God, who is infinite ocean of absolute divine peace and blessedness, He has tried to give to man this awakening message that peace is your birthright. You are of the very nature of peace. Deep within you, there is an innermost center which is purely spiritual, and that inner spiritual center of yours is a part of the universal being. Therefore, by its very nature, it is absolute peace. There abides peace in your heart. To enter within to a life of introspection and meditation, and to experience that peace within, and thus become established in inner individual peace, is the first step towards world peace. Because when the individuals are established in this inner divine peace, each one of them will become dynamic centers for the radiating of this living peace, vital living peace, vibrant within them, and through their life and through their activities, they will begin to radiate this peace into their own environment and into their own particular circle of beings with whom they have to live and move. Thus, everywhere, if this inner awareness that man's real nature is spiritual, and that real nature is the very nature of absolute peace, shanti, shalom, if this awareness is sought to be brought about, then gradually it will pave the way for peace in greater and greater areas of human life and activity. And world peace would not be an utopia or a chimera, but it would be an achievable fact. However, due to unfortunate recent material tendencies and the appearance of philosophies that have rejected the very concept of God, atheistic ideologies and godless philosophies, social philosophies and schools of thought, we have rejected the great teachings of our scriptures, the great teachings of world teachers of mankind, who came upon earth and declared to man the necessity of walking the path of peace if mankind were to experience real happiness in this world. Because the peace is the indispensable condition, prerequisite to true happiness. Without peace, you cannot have happiness. Happiness is the outcome of peace. Ashantasya kutas sukham, shantamuleka saukhyamuledu. Thus sang the great saint poet Tyagaraja. Therefore, if you want happiness, you must first of all establish peace within yourself. You must be able to give up the hard adamantine ego sense and selfishness. The ego sense and selfishness of the human individual nature is one of the greatest obstacles to harmony, unity, brotherhood, love and peace. Selfishness is the greatest dire disease and the bane of human nature. And unfortunately, in the modern educational system prevailing all over the world, the children are taught subjects pertaining to this material world, different fields of knowledge pertaining to this gross physical universe, but in the schools, in the syllabus, in the curricula, there is no provision for teaching children love and brotherhood, for teaching children peace and harmony, for teaching children goodwill and friendship, which is the most essential part of education. Education is meant to draw out from within the human individual all that is best, all that is sublime, all that is good and auspicious and blessed. It is not merely putting into the human brain a great plethora of facts and figures and information. It is not like feeding statistical data into computer machine. On the contrary, the process of education is a reverse process. It is a positive, creative process of bringing out from within the human individual these great hidden qualities of love, unity, harmony, brotherhood and peace. It is only when our entire educational system becomes reoriented in this manner and the future humanity is made to grow in an atmosphere of goodwill and brotherhood, of love and harmony, of peace and tolerance, then alone world peace can become a fact. Prayer is a great power. It can bring peace, for it can link our inner self to the universal being who is of the nature of profound peace. Therefore, through right education, through unfailing daily prayer, individual as well as collective, and by giving up our selfish nature, hard-hearted, egoistic and selfish nature, we can work towards the establishment of peace, first within the individual heart and then within his immediate environments, and thus onward into ever-widening circles peace can be brought about in this whole world, among nations, races, and all humanity. Peace be unto you. Shalom. Aman. Hari Om Tat Sat Shanti Shanti Shanti. Blessed immortal Atman, beloved children of the Lord, you who are immortal souls temporarily residing within perishable earthly physical bodies, while upon this brief pilgrimage upon earth, while upon this brief earth journey, it is very, very necessary that first of all you understand the meaning and purpose of life. Then alone you can live meaningfully, understanding the significance of your existence and presence here on earth, and thus you will be able to proceed in the right direction and attain success and fulfillment in life. The main objective and purpose of all religions that exist in this human world is precisely in order to grant to mankind this right understanding of one's life. Religions exist precisely to bring to us the right knowledge and understanding of why we are here, what is the meaning and significance of our presence upon earth, and what is the goal we have to attain in and through this life. And in their innermost essential teachings, really, you will find that all religions are identical in this innermost essential teachings that the different scriptures of the different religions proclaim to mankind. There are differences in the outer form and the mode of the practice of religions. Yes, this is inevitable, because these religions have developed in different parts of the globe and different periods of human history, and therefore, due to historical factors and due to geographical conditions, the way in which the outer ceremonial and ritualistic aspects of religion are concerned and developed, they have naturally to be different from one another. Because of this difference in geographical location and the difference in the historic time period when this religion first emerged through the teachings of some great prophet. But when you try to go beyond the outer formalism of religion, the mere external ritualistic and ceremonial aspects of religion, you will find the inner essence of religion, bring them close together, and they discover a similarity which is not apparent upon the surface. When you thus go into the very heart and essence of all the religions, you find that they are almost identical. Because all the great prophets were messengers of God. And their message was the declaring of the will of God for man on earth. God's divine plan for man on earth. And this will of God for man's life and conduct and man's mission on earth is and has always been love, harmony, brotherhood, service and truthfulness. Satya, prema, seva, samarasya, shanti. These have been, therefore, the most important teachings of all religions, because this is God's will that man becomes a creature of love, even as he himself is. That man becomes a creature of purity, integrity, truthfulness, purity. And a man becomes a creature of kindness, compassion. For this is what we expect from God towards ourselves: forgiveness of our sins, kindness and compassion, tolerance of our little weaknesses and our shortcomings, our human foibles. Even so, in our own life, we have to practice these fundamental divine virtues as part of the practice of religion. Religion is not mere ritual and ceremonial. Religion goes beyond it. Religion is the movement of the deeper depth of our being, where we are not merely physical earth creatures, but where we are sparks of divinity. We are waves upon the ocean of eternal divine existence. And it is in this innermost depth of our being, wherein we are spiritual in nature, in this depth, a determined attempt, a continuous effort to link ourselves once again with the divine source of our being is the very essence of religion. Religions exist and function in order to bring man back into a state of living relationship with God. The essence of religion is re-establishing our forgotten connection, re-establishing spiritually our forgotten connection with the Supreme Universal Soul. Religions exist to bring the human back into close contact with the divine, to bring the individual once again into a living union with the universal soul. And such a re-establishment of this lost connection or forgotten relationship, this inner spiritual union with the universal soul, is possible only if we earnestly strive to purify our entire nature and rid it of all that is gross, all that is undivine and unspiritual. Because we have to grow into the God nature if we have to draw near to God and establish a living relationship with Him and enter into spiritual communion with Him and thus attain God experience, abide in God. For that we have to grow in His likeness. We have to develop within us those very sublime qualities which are indicative of the God nature. For that, you have to eradicate from your personality and character all low and petty tendencies like craving, carnal passion, impurity, greed, selfishness, anger, jealousy, envy, haughtiness. These have to be got rid of. If you ponder the great teachings given by the world teacher Lord Krishna in the 16th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, you will understand this process. How we have to cleanse ourselves of the dross of undivine and unspiritual qualities and trends in our nature, and thus purified, we have to raise our life and the standard of its living to a higher sublime level. And it is precisely here that religion comes in of great help. Religions exist in order to ennoble human nature, in order to refine human thought, word and action, in order to make sublime your character and conduct. So more you grow into purity, more you grow into goodness, more you grow in sanctity and holiness, the nearer you begin to approach this supreme experience of union with God, the supreme experience of entering into a state of conscious and living relationship with God. Therefore, this is the heart of religion of man, bringing man back into a conscious living relationship with God and thus divinizing his nature, thus making him a great boon to human society itself. Such people illumined with God experience, they become centers of love, centers of harmony, centers of goodwill, centers of all that is holy, auspicious and blessed, centers of purity and goodness. They really become therefore the salt of life. They really become therefore precious gems in the human treasure, as it were. They become real wealth of global mankind. And to enable human beings to thus grow into this divine nature and make them a center of divinity, religions show the way. The heart of religion, as I told you, is to make us realize our kinship with the universal being, the divine universal soul, God. All other rituals and ceremonials, they have a place at a certain period of your practice of religion. But later on, they may give place to this inner transformation of human nature from grossness to sublimity and subtlety, from passion to purity, from selfishness to selflessness and a dedicated life of love and service. This is the essence of religion. This is the essence of the teachings of all the great prophets. O man, thou art divine, thou art a child of God, therefore thou art divine in nature. Therefore divinely live your life. May your thoughts and feelings be divine. May your attitudes and approach be divine. May your reactions to outer occurrences be divine. And may your relationship with the rest of humankind also be divine. Because to live divinely is the most natural thing for you, because you are divine, being a child of God. This is the central call, this is the very essence of all the existing world religions that exist today in human society. Here is what beloved and worshipful Holy Master Swami Shivananda has to say about the essentials of all religions. There is God, or a supreme being. In Him alone you will find supreme peace, param shanti, eternal bliss, freedom, perfection and immortality. Never hurt the feelings of others. Speak the truth. Do not kill any sentient being. Cultivate divine virtues such as humility, courage, forgiveness, tolerance and compassion. Love all. Be kind to all. Be good. Do good. Be charitable. Purify the heart. Serve humanity. Share what you have with others. Love thy neighbor as thy own self. Cultivate universal brotherhood. Destroy all barriers that separate man from man. These indeed constitute the essentials of all religions. In this, all religions are at one. They are the same. They do not differ. There is no clash or conflict or disharmony between religions in this innermost depth of their true nature, of their innermost essential original teachings. Religion, therefore, if rightly understood and properly practiced, will ennoble your human nature, will get rid, see, you will get rid from your life and your nature all that is negative, all that stands between yourself and your fellow beings, all that stands between you and God. The removal of these obstacles, the experiencing of brotherhood, coming out from your little narrow shell of selfish living and embracing whole humanity as your own family, this will be brought about if religion is properly understood and religion is properly practiced. Therefore, do not unnecessarily fight and quarrel regarding the external ritualistic and ceremonial parts of religion. They have a place and they are bound to differ because mankind differs in the external aspects of his life. But go to the heart of the teachings of each prophet. No prophet, no messenger, no scripture ever calls man, see, an earth creature. No scripture or no prophet ever says utter lies and be harsh, be angry, hate your neighbor. On the contrary, all religions and all scriptures proclaim the sublimity and the necessity of love, compassion, tolerance, forgiveness, purity of character and conduct, unity, harmony, brotherhood. This is the very innermost teachings, the very core and essence of all religions. Beloved friend, let us open our eyes now and come out of our narrow, bigoted stand regarding religions. Let us be broad and tolerant. Let us destroy this artificially created barrier between different religions and different sects and different sampradayas or different schools of thought. The external hair-splitting argument of Vedantins, leave it to the Pandits and the scholars and the philosophers. But you be a man of true religion. Bring God into your life. Know that He is your constant companion and try to live as a true child of God. This is the very essence of all the scriptures. This is the essence of the teachings of all the great saints and sages, prophets and messengers of God. This is the essence of all religions. It teaches purity, truthfulness, goodness, harmony, love, unselfishness, the spirit of service, forgiveness. Therefore, beloved children of the Divine, do not be misled and misguided by people who for their own selfish interest speak from platforms of different religions and try to separate man from man for their own selfish purposes. Religion exists in the world not to bring about discord or difference and war. On the contrary, religion exists in order to harmonize, in order to bring together unity and brotherhood amongst man. It declares to us the sanctity of all life, and it declares to us that non-injury, compassion or kindness is the highest of all laws. Ahimsa paramo dharma. The Saint Ramalinga, Jyoti Ramalinga Swami of South India, he declared before his disappearance, Jiva Karunyame Tirabhagor. Compassion to all creatures is the key to blessedness, key to heaven and key to blessedness. And great Saint Francis of Assisi prayed in a simple prayer, O Lord, make me an instrument of Thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is anger, let me bring pardon. Where there is despair, let me bring hope. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. O Divine Master, I do not seek so much to be understood by others, but rather to understand others. I do not seek so much to be loved by others, but rather to love others. I do not seek so much to be consoled, but to console others. For it is in giving that one receives. For it is pardoning others that one is pardoned. For it is in dying to this little self or little petty egoistic I that one attains to everlasting life. Beloved brothers, is this not really the heart and essence of all religions? Udara charitanam tu vasudhaiva kurumpam. Great-hearted people, the whole world is their own family. Thus, the heart and core of religion, the essential teachings of religion, is love and goodness, purity and truthfulness, kindness and compassion, ceaseless remembrance of God, and intense love and a desire to attain Him, and intense urge to serve mankind, because you see brotherhood amongst all mankind, and try to live life in order to benefit all life around you. This therefore, Paropakara and Ishvara Sakshatkara, doing good unto others and trying to attain God experience. These constitute the heart and essence of all the religions of the world, and this is the truth. This should be understood, and if all take to the practice of this real religion, there is no doubt that all fights and quarrels will disappear. All clash and conflict in the name of religion will become a thing of the past, and religion will become a great unifying force in human society and bring about harmony, friendship and brotherhood amongst all mankind. This is my firm conviction, and therefore I urge upon you all not to be misled and misguided by people with vested interests into believing that religions differ, but on the contrary, try to contemplate this innermost aspect of the essence of religion and live a life of love, brotherhood, unity, harmony, and selfless service unto all beings. This is my message today when I share these few thoughts upon the essence of all religions. Herein we have to note one thing. Religion is not the outer structure of organized religions. Church is not Christianity. The mosque is not Islam. Hindu mandir is not real basic religion. They are only the outer social structures to keep together the followers of the different faiths by coming together from time to time for collective worship and also observing periodically several times during the year certain common festivities, certain common days of fasting and praying and feasting, etc. These have been methods created to keep closely together the community of people who follow different faiths. This aspect therefore may be necessary, but this aspect, the outer structure of religion, does not constitute its real lesson. Those who fail to understand it, those who don't grasp this inner truth, they take the outer structure to be the real religion and fail to live religion in its innermost spiritual essence. This is a grave error and a grave blunder. Swami Vivekananda once said, it is good to be born into a church, but it is bad to die in the church, which meant while we are born into a religion and we have no choice about it, as we grow up and expand in wisdom, we should become tolerant, and our love and sympathy and understanding should go beyond the borders of our own religion, and a certain universality of vision should be adopted, and the universalism of our feelings towards others should come into our life and into our dealings with other people. And this universalism is indispensable, all the more so today, when in many parts of the world religion is being made the main bone of contention. Religion is being made the basis of intense hatred, clash and conflict, like as in Belfast in Ireland, in the Middle East, and in so many places. Religion, instead of becoming a force for peace, harmony, goodwill and love and brotherhood, it has now become a force for conflict, separation, hatred and mutual hatred and warfare. This is a great blunder. This is a great pity. It is very deplorable indeed that such a sublime institution as religion, which has its objective and purpose the divinizing of human nature and the purifying of human conduct and spiritualizing of all human life, instead of this, does the very contrary of it. This blunder is due to our rejecting the teachings of the scriptures, of our not properly understanding and following the teachings of the saints and sages. We merely give outer adoration to the saints and sages, but very safely we ignore their teachings. This is the unfortunate wrong attitude of man towards scriptures and towards saints. Saints have come into this earth to show us the sublime way of living life in an ideal manner. We should keep the shining example of these saints and sages before us as an adarsh or as an ideal, and we must try to live up to that great ideal. I shall try to place before you the essence of all religions, which the beloved and worshipful Holy Master Gurudev Swami Chidanandaji put in the form of a prayer. Though it is in the form of a prayer, this prayer is actually a blueprint for ideal religious living, and it is also a prayer that has within its contents the essence of all religions. Adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto Thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent and omniscient. Thou art Satchitananda, existence, consciousness, bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptations and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, greed, hatred, anger and jealousy. Fill our heart with divine virtues. Let us behold Thee in all names and forms. Let us serve Thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember Thee. Let us ever sing Thy glories. Let Thy divine name be ever upon our lips. Let us abide in Thee forever and ever. Let us abide in Thee forever and ever. Amen. This prayer sums up the essence of all religions. Harihi Om Sarvesham Swasti Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.